They sense your fear. They don't even need you to speak. Your silence, your posture, your hesitation betray what you want to hide. And in this world, what you hide becomes a weapon used against you. You want to be liked, to be appreciated, but it's respect you must seek, because appreciation is given freely, but respect must be earned. That is why you are not taken seriously. That is why some trample over you without scruples. You grew up in a time when you were taught that kindness was enough, that forgiveness would make you greater, that you should turn the other cheek even if the other despised you. You were lied to. The truth is the world listens to those who are unafraid. And among all who understood this truth, Machiavelli said it with the coldest lucidity. This is not a video to teach you cruelty. It is a truth few dare to face. If you want to survive with dignity, if you want to rise without betraying your essence, you must learn to command respect. You can be fair but firm. You can be kind but uncompromising. And for that, some rules will be necessary, ancient, forgotten, uncomfortable, yet liberating. What you are about to hear may not please you, but it will awaken something inside an authority that has been sleeping. Tell me in the comments, have you ever lost someone's respect because of your fear? Subscribe, like this video, and stay until the end, because I will reveal to you a law of power that almost no one has ever told you, and that could change your very way of existing. At the end of the 15th century, Italy was a battlefield of tension, war, and betrayal. Kingdoms fought, popes conspired, alliances were broken faster than oaths were sworn. It was in this chaos that a radical thought was born, an unblinking gaze into human nature, that of Niccolo Machiavelli. Unlike the idealist philosophers of his time, Machiavelli did not seek what man should be, but what man really is. His work, The Prince, speaks not of virtue in the moral sense, but of power, influence, and survival. Written as a manual of strategy for rulers, this text was so disturbing that Machiavelli was accused of having made a pact with the devil. In reality, he only described the raw mechanics of power. Those who do not inspire fear are swept away. But at its core, this is not a political book. It is a mirror that modernity rejected, because it does not flatter the ego, it strips it bare. Today, in a world flooded with talks of kindness, self-esteem, and universal love, we have forgotten a brutal truth. Those who govern others have not always been right, but they have known how to be feared. This lesson does not concern kings alone. It concerns you and your family, your work, your life, because where you impose nothing, everything will be taken from you. What you are about to hear is not theory. It is a brutal reminder of ancient laws, written in the dust of fallen empires, practiced by those who survived where others were devoured. You do not need to be a king to apply them. You only need to have been ignored once to understand why they matter to you. The first rule you must internalize: display quiet strength. Power does not justify itself, it imposes itself. Those who dominate do not shout, they do not explain, they do not chase approval. They impose their presence silently as an undeniable truth. And it is precisely this lack of visible effort that makes their authority unquestionable. You may have believed that you must speak loudly, convince, argue to be respected. But the more you explain, the more you lose, because in the human subconscious, those who justify themselves appear weak, and those who remain calm seem already victorious. It is an archaic law, yet still active. True power makes no noise. Machiavelli said that the appearance of strength often outweighs strength itself. What you show the world conditions what it dares to do to you. If you give the image of a man who is internally stable, calm, capable of resisting without spectacle, you become an enigma. An enigma is not challenged, it is bypassed, it is respected. The second rule you must understand: strike once, but strike hard. Permanent leniency weakens your authority. You were taught to be patient, to endure, to believe eternal forgiveness makes your soul greater. But in the reality of power, Such patience is often perceived as exploitable weakness. This is not about becoming violent or cruel. It is about understanding that the one who never sets limits becomes a doormat for the unscrupulous. Machiavelli said it was better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. Fear arises precisely when you can punish once, firmly, clearly. If you absorb offenses without reaction, forgive everything all the time, you give others the idea that anything goes. Once this idea sets in, nothing stops them, respect collapses, words lose weight, excuses become habits, your kindness becomes an opportunity, but strike once just one strike when necessary, strike when a boundary you set has been crossed. And do so without anger, without hatred. Do so because it must stop. One measured, calm, sharp reaction is worth 1,000 speeches. It marks minds. It signals you are not neutral ground. There are limits. Those who cross them must pay the price. It is this consistency between kindness and firmness that creates true respect. And respect, unlike fear, does not fade. It settles. You do not need to explain your act. You must simply make it undeniable, and above all, you do not strike often. But when you do, no one forgets. That is the power of the just blow. The third rule you must internalize: never say everything you think. Mystery is a weapon of domination. You talk too much. You explain. You clarify. You believe transparency builds trust. But what you do not understand is this: the more you reveal, the more others know how to reach you. The more you say what you feel, want, or fear, the more predictable you become, and what is predictable never impresses. Machiavelli would not tell you to lie, but to master, to hold back, to measure what you reveal. Because everything you show becomes a piece of data against you. Silence, ambiguity, economy of words, these are forms of control. The one who speaks little forces others to interpret, and interpretation creates discomfort. Discomfort creates caution. Caution toward you becomes respect. This is not arrogance. It is an inner discipline, a conscious choice not to be naked before just anyone, not to give your plans to those who could turn them against you. Great strategists never reveal their cards. They operate in the fog, not because they are weak, but because power often lies in what remains unspoken, in the expression that leaves doubt hanging, in the look that neither confirms nor denies, in the gray area where others project their fears, fantasies, and limits. If you want respect, stop exposing yourself. Master your words. Let mystery do the work for you. What you do not say inspires more caution than what you shout, because in silence lies legend. The fourth rule you must understand: be respected before you are loved. Affection does not protect. Fear does. You want to be loved. You believe love protects you. You believe that if people appreciate you, they will not harm you. But look closely around you. Who betrays? Who manipulates? Who takes advantage? Those who say they love you. Because love without respect becomes weakness. And Machiavelli saw this clearly. A ruler should seek to be feared rather than loved, because love depends on others, while fear depends on you. When you seek to be loved, you compromise. You say yes when you think no. You forgive when you should set limits. You accept when you should walk away. And by trying to preserve peace, you sacrifice your authority. You think you avoid conflict, but in reality you nurture contempt, because love given to one who imposes nothing turns slowly into indifference, then into contempt, and finally into abandonment. Respect, however, does not depend on mood. It rests on a stable perception that you do not tolerate disrespect, that you know how to say stop, that you are not afraid to displease, that respect may not always seduce, but it lasts, and sometimes it gives birth to a deeper love, one born not of kindness, but of admiration. Do not seek to please, be upright, be clear, be just, and if you must choose, always choose respect, because the one who loves you today may betray you tomorrow, but the one who respects you will fear you, even silently. And that well-measured fear will protect you more than any beautiful speech. The fifth rule you must apply: make yourself rare, even among those you lead. Constant presence weakens your image, distance builds impact. The more visible you are, the more people get used to you. The more accessible you are, the more your value becomes ordinary. What is rare intrigues, what is omnipresent tires, yet you still believe that to be respected, you must be everywhere, always available, always responsive. You think constant presence strengthens your bonds with others, but it's the opposite. Excess presence kills mystery. Without mystery, there is no fascination, no caution, no lasting respect. Machiavelli knew this. He observed princes who showed themselves little but struck hard. Their absence provoked imagination. Their silence fed interpretation. Their rarity created a constant tension. What will they say? What will they do? And that uncertainty kept their authority alive. Not their daily speeches, not their need to be loved, just their ability to appear at the right moment and disappear just after. Do you want to be feared and respected? Withdraw sometimes. Let others speak without you. Let them wonder where you are, what you prepare, what you think. Create the void so that your presence regains weight. When you reappear, even with those you love, even with those you lead, respect does not thrive on permanent fusion. It is forged in the perception that you can leave at any moment, and that your absence is a lack, not a relief. Those who show themselves all the time become mere decor. Those who know how to disappear become an inner presence, a presence that marks, structures, and even far away continues to impose its law. This is not arrogance. It is a discipline of rare, essential power. The sixth rule you must adopt: hide your intentions until your action is irreversible. Secret is a weapon of advantage. You speak too fast. You announce what you want to do. You confide your projects, your hopes, your next decisions to those who have nothing to lose by listening and everything to gain by anticipating you. You believe that sharing creates loyalty, but often sharing too soon gives others the chance to stop you. Machiavelli would never have done that. He would have said, "Keep silent until nothing can be taken back." True power acts in the shadows not to manipulate, but to preserve momentum, because newborn projects are fragile, and the human mind, even well-meaning, can sabotage them out of doubt, jealousy, or simple misunderstanding. The more visible your plan, the more you invite failure, because a revealed intention too soon attracts resistance. And in this world, it is not the brightest who wins, but the one who comes unseen. Strategic silence is not fear, it is precision. You do not hide who you are, you protect what you build. You wait until your action is solid, impossible to reverse. Then you reveal it not as hope, but as victory, surprise, and imposed reality. Learn to keep your fire under the ashes. Let others believe you are still idle while you advance. Say nothing until all is ready, because when you act in silence, impact is stronger, and those who ignored you wake up too late. The respect you inspire, then, is based not on promises, but on proof. The seventh rule you must embody: create the impression you can lose everything without trembling. True power comes from emotional independence. Nothing scares the world more than someone who no longer fears losing. As long as you tremble at the thought of rejection, replacement, betrayal, or oblivion, you give others leverage over your mind. They know you hold back. They sense you walk on eggshells, and it is this fear that weakens all your power. Machiavelli did not say this directly, but his logic suggests it clearly. The one who cannot be destabilized is always respected, even in silence. You think showing your attachment strengthens bonds, but too often it creates imbalance. The more you hold on to something, the more it can be used against you. This is not a call to become cold or indifferent. It is a call to inner freedom. You must love without attachment, lead without dependence, project without fear of falling. Because the one who can lose everything without trembling becomes an enigma, a mystery, a force that unsettles. You cannot pressure him. He is not a prisoner of his emotions, and it is this calm that commands the greatest respect. Respect does not come from perfection. It comes from the solidity of this silent force that says, I am ready to lose everything, but I will not yield. That is the posture of a true prince, even without a crown. You may have no kingdom, but if your soul is steady, if your peace depends on nothing, if your gaze remains steady in the storm, you are already above, and those around you feel it. Stop trying to impress with what you possess. Impress with what you can lose without giving up, because true authority, the one nothing can overthrow, begins when you no longer fear falling. Now that you know the rules, it is time to face the truths that make them possible. These laws do not only work outside you. They demand an inner shift, detachment, cold lucidity, and as long as certain illusions govern your mind, you will not apply them without betraying yourself. Here is what you must look at without trembling. You say you want to be respected, but deep down you fear what it implies, being alone. True authority isolates. It creates distance, a verticality that not everyone can bear. You can be fair, you can be kind, you can want to do good around you, but if you truly take on your power, you will sooner or later feel the coldness from above, the cold of the one who must say no, while everyone expects a yes. The cold of the one who sees further than others, and cannot always follow their unrest. This solitude you felt every time you stood to set a limit, every time you refused a compromise that betrayed your conscience. You hoped to be understood, but only met cold looks, silence, sometimes betrayal. Then you told yourself it was too hard, that it wasn't worth it, and you came down. You took your place in the crowd again. You sought love instead of respect. You forgot who you were, but here is the truth. You cannot be deeply respected if you are not ready to be alone, not all the time, not forever, but sometimes, yes. Because those who dare to impose a vision, set a line, bear a name, disturb, and for a time they will be cast aside. It is a test, but it is also a purification. It cleanses your power from all need for recognition. And that is when your authority becomes real. The one who governs hoping to be loved does not govern. The one who accepts the temporary solitude of truth becomes a reference. Do you want to be that reference? Then accept that the summit is less crowded than the valley. Accept to walk alone just long enough for your silence to become legend. You want peace. You want things to flow smoothly. You want harmonious relations without shouting or conflict. But by wanting peace at all costs, you let everything slide. You let hurtful words pass. You ignore disrespectful gestures. You stay silent when you should speak. And deep down, it's not wisdom, it's fear. Fear of displeasing, fear of triggering conflict, fear that others will leave if you set boundaries. You think setting a boundary will break the bond. You think saying no will make you lose love. So you let things slide and slide until one day you realize it is no longer peace, it is submission. And submission breaks you. It makes you lose your dignity. It forces you to smile when you should be angry. It teaches you to disappear when you should stand firm. But what you refuse to see is this. True peace never comes from avoidance. It comes from clarity, from quiet strength, from the one who says, "This is the limit. You can approach it, but if you cross it, I will step away." Such words do not cause war. They create respect. And sometimes respect creates peace, a peace far more durable than forced silences. Machiavelli understood this. Power is preserved not by constant violence, but by visible firmness. The one who sets clear boundaries without aggression, without endless justification, inspires caution. And well-measured caution soothes tensions. It aligns things. It structures relationships. You will never have the peace you seek if you refuse to be the guardian of your own territory. Because harmony is not the absence of conflict. Harmony is when everyone knows their place, and that place is yours to define. You think showing your wounds makes you real. You think talking about your doubts, insecurities, and scars builds connection. Sometimes it does, but only if you choose the right time, the right person, and the right space, because revealing what is fragile in you too soon gives the other a power they may not be mature enough to handle. You think you are sincere, but often it is a call, an unconscious call to be reassured, loved, validated. And those who pick up that call may use it against you, not always out of malice, but out of reflex, immaturity, or instinctive domination. What you believed was openness becomes a breach, a vulnerability laid bare without protection. Machiavelli did not say be false. He said be strategic. Honesty is an art. It is not about telling everything to everyone at all times. It is about discerning what elevates you and what exposes you unnecessarily. In power dynamics, weakness shown too soon does not touch. It weakens, it creates imbalance. You want to be whole, start by strengthening what you want to show. Do not talk about your pain while it is still raw. Do not offer your heart to those who only know how to judge. Hold back not out of fear, but out of respect for yourself. What you do not say today, you will be able to say later with authority, perspective, and power. Then your words will no longer ask for love. They will teach, stand, and support. That is true honesty. It does not flaunt itself. It waits for truth to become a foundation, not a fragile offering. You do everything to avoid tension. You change the subject. You apologize when you did nothing wrong. You erase yourself to avoid hurting others. You smile when you should frown. You call it wisdom or maturity, but deep down it is fear. Fear of conflict, fear of being rejected or judged, and that fear costs you more than you admit. It exposes you, it weakens you, it hands you over to those who have no problem imposing their will. The paradox is cruel. The more you flee confrontation, the more you attract those who feed on it. Dominators, manipulators, cold souls, they quickly spot those who will never stand up. They sniff out concessions, they test limits, and when they see you avoid friction, they know they can go further, always further, until you become a silent wall, unable to say no, unable to assert yourself. Machiavelli did not praise war, he praised lucidity. He knew that true peace is not gained by closing your eyes, but by opening them wide. You do not have to love conflict, but you must be ready to face it without hatred, without shouting, without chaos, but with integrity. Those who do not back down from disagreement become a landmark, and even those who attack them respect that landmark. Conflict is not poison. It is a revealer. It shows who is ready to stay, even when it burns. It shows who respects you enough to listen when you oppose. And above all, it shows you that you exist, even when you disturb. Stop fleeing the waves. Learn to stand tall when they come, because it is in quiet resistance that authority lies. And that authority no one can take away, because it no longer depends on their approval, but on your fidelity to yourself. You exhaust yourself explaining. You want people to understand your intentions, to grasp your logic, to embrace your truth. You argue, you justify, you struggle to prove you are right, but the more you speak, the less you inspire, because deep in human relations, it is not words that command respect, it is posture, the silent energy of the one who knows, who no longer needs to convince. Machiavelli knew power is not negotiated in speeches. It is imposed through presence, balance, and calm, and the one who stays silent when everyone shouts becomes the center around which all trembles. You think your intelligence will be seen if you explain everything, but sometimes the greatest intelligence is to say, "You will understand later," and add nothing more, because in that void, the other is forced to reflect, doubt, question. And that doubt, more than any speech, can shake their vision. You do not have to convince those who do not want to see. You do not have to justify yourself to those who have already judged you. Speak when your words carry weight. Be silent when your truth exceeds the moment. Silence is not retreat, it is height, elevation. It says, I am not here to please you. I am here to remain faithful to what I know. And that stance creates an almost sacred force. It inspires caution, it commands respect, it disarms attacks, because the one who has nothing to prove becomes formidable. He no longer plays, he simply is, and faced with that, words fall away, games end. Masks slip, so stop debating, embody, and let your silence shake what your voice can no longer reach. Understanding is not enough, reading is not enough. What you have heard will only become alive if you integrate it into how you exist. It is not about applying external strategies, it is about repositioning yourself inwardly. Transform your posture, your rhythm, your presence. What follows is not a method, it is a transformation. If you accept it, you will never be seen the same way again. Before you say a word, you send a message. How you hold yourself, your breath, your gaze all speak for you. In a world flooded with words, the one who embodies physical mastery commands respect even before opening his mouth. Your voice will never carry beyond what your body allows. If you want to be heard, start by being seen not in agitation, not in display, but in quiet density. Straighten your back, breathe slower, learn to hold silence without flinching. Slow your movements not to seem slow, but to become weighty. Make every movement intentional and heavy. Let your gaze anchor, not search. Observe without trying to seduce. Listen without trying to answer. It is in this quality of presence that authority is born. Machiavelli spoke of perception, and perception begins in the flesh. You do not need artifice, you need presence. A presence that says, I am not afraid. I am not here to play a role. I am here because I have something to hold, and I will hold it. You want respect. It begins in your neck, your breath, the ground beneath your feet. You were not born to be loved by all. You were not made to fit into every circle, every code, every expectation. Yet you learned to smooth yourself out, to smile even when burning inside, to say yes when your body shouted no. You traded your power for the illusion of acceptance, and that illusion drained you, because those who want to please everyone are respected by no one. Seeking to please is handing your power to those who can refuse it. It is begging for a recognition you could embody yourself. Machiavelli would have told you, stop adjusting your truth to make it comfortable. It does not have to be comfortable. It must be clear, stable, unshakable. You do not have to provoke rejection, but you must stop fearing it. Watch yourself next time you speak. Do you say what you think, or what you think the other wants to hear? If it is the latter, then breathe, hold back, and choose to stay faithful to your axis, even if it causes coldness, even if it closes a door. Because every time you choose truth over flattery, you ascend a level of sovereignty. And even those who ignore you will feel that. You learn to fill voids, to talk fast, to fill every space for fear it might become awkward. But that void you fear is sacred territory. It is in silence that words take their true value. It is in your silence that others begin to feel your density. Those who talk without pause exhaust themselves. Those who hold silence at the right time create a tension no one dares break lightly. Silence does not mean absence. It means mastery. It says, I do not need to convince. I am already sure. It says, I do not flee discomfort. I inhabit it. And faced with such silence, even the loudest quiet down. They watch, they doubt. Because you give them nothing to grasp, nothing to twist, nothing to manipulate. You simply are, and that is enough. Practice it. Let a sentence hang unfinished. Keep a thought to yourself that others expect you to share. Breathe in the pause you feared. Watch how silence transforms dynamics. You no longer need to raise your voice. You no longer need to defend yourself. Well, managed emptiness becomes an invisible throne. And he who knows how to hold it never begs to be respected, he commands it without a word. Do not repeat your boundaries 100 times. Respect is not made by logic. It is made by consistency. You must stop posing your limits like suggestions. They are not invitations to discussion. They are anchors, and once placed, they must not move. When you set a limit, do it calmly, without anger or threats. Say what is acceptable, say what is not, once. Then hold your line even if others insist, even if they try to make you doubt. In this steadfastness lies respect. It is not the intensity of your reaction that impresses. It is your stability. Machiavelli said, "Never let anyone think it possible to make you step back after a no, because if you give in once, your image breaks. You become negotiable, and what is negotiable is never feared. So practice this. Assert yourself without rigidity, but with firmness. Do not change your mind under pressure. Do not revisit your borders out of fear of losing a relationship. Because the truth is you never lose a relationship by holding a limit. You only lose the illusion of a bond that was not based on respect. There are places, people, habits that quietly drain your energy. You don't realize it. You smile, you participate, you play your role. But inside you feel your energy dispersing. You adapt too much. You hold back. You reduce your fire so it doesn't bother anyone. And the longer you stay in these spaces, the more your natural authority dissolves. Authority is not a shout. It is a vibration. It feeds on silence, solitude, invisible rigor. It needs space to breathe. If you spend your days adjusting to what is lukewarm, vague, easy, then do not be surprised if no one feels your presence. You have scattered yourself, you have faded into the ordinary, and the ordinary commands nothing. Machiavelli would say, choose your territory, do not stay where you have no weight. Do not cling to circles that only respect you when you are silent. Leave what drains you, even if familiar, even if it holds memories, even if you fear being alone afterward. Authority is alignment, and alignment requires cutting away. You cannot inspire respect if you keep company with those who diminish your strength. Take back control of your frequency. Be where your voice can resonate. If not, stay silent and leave. Often you announce, you explain what you will do, why you will do it, how you hope it will be received. You prepare others for your moves. You try to soften impact, avoid surprise, calm minds before they react. But this ruins your authority. It forces you to seek permission before each act. As long as you function this way, you remain predictable, manageable, delayed. Machiavelli did not announce, he prepared, and when the moment came, he struck, then explained if needed. Power lies in acting without warning, not in brutality, but in precision. You make a move, you take a stand, you distance yourself, then calmly you say, this is necessary, this changes everything. You are no longer waiting for validation. You are sovereign, and the other, caught off guard, faces a reality already established, sealed. They cannot negotiate, they must adapt. In that moment, your image changes. You are no longer the informer. You are the transformer. Respect comes from those who act, not from those who ask for permission. You will never be respected as long as you fear losing. You may speak loudly, you may set rules. But if deep inside you tremble at the thought of being left, forgotten, replaced, then everything you love will be tinged with anxiety, and that anxiety is felt. It weakens. It makes negotiable what should never be negotiable. Machiavelli understood that true power does not rest on what you possess, but on what you can leave behind without destroying yourself. What you can lose without betraying yourself becomes your strength. You must train yourself to detach mentally, emotionally. You must practice saying, I am ready for this bond to end if the price is my integrity. And say it without hatred, without threat, only with peace. That does not mean giving up everything. It means you are no longer captive. You are no longer ruled by the fear of loss. And this simple shift transforms your presence. You enter the room differently. You speak differently. You choose your battles. Those who watch you seem to see that you do not play, you embody, you have stopped begging, you are free, and that freedom, even silent, commands a respect no one can take away. You no longer need to become someone else. You do not need to harden yourself artificially or force behaviors that do not belong to you. The truth is, you already carry within you a power you have simply forgotten to respect. A power you traded for apparent peace, for others' love, for avoidance of conflict. But today you feel it. That inner compromise has a cost, and that cost is your own voice, your own access, your silent authority. What you have heard in this video is not a list of rules to follow mechanically. They are reminders, awakenings, new angles of consciousness to bring you back to the center of your thought, the center of your energy, the center of your dignity, because you cannot impose from outside what you do not live first inside. And that is where the real work begins, in the details, in the silences, in the names you place gently, in the departures you assume, in the looks you hold without weakening, in the decisions you no longer justify. To be respected is not a strategy, it is a radiance. It is coherence between what you think, what you say, and what you do. It is the calm in your breath when confronted. It is the silence you hold when everything around you shakes. It is the word you release with precision, not to please, but to stand. It is the posture that says everything without shouting a word. And if you commit to this path, you will see the world change, not because it has become more just, but because you no longer stand in the same place. You no longer play by the same rules. You no longer belong to those who ask. You belong to those who embody. And this embodiment, even in discretion, becomes a force no one dares extinguish. Ask yourself now, are you ready to be respected, even if that means being less loved? Are you ready to choose your peace instead of approval? Are you ready to walk alone just for a time so that you never have to apologize for existing again? If this video has awakened something in you, write it in the comments, even a sentence, even a word, because speaking out is already the first act of alignment. And if you want this message to continue spreading, to break masks, to give voice back to those who buried it, then share it. Subscribe, come back, because here we do not speak to seduce. We speak to awaken. You no longer need to fear anyone. You just need to remember who you are when you have nothing left to prove.